Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Hello and welcome to Halftime Report. Well, it's 12 noon. We're halfway through the trading session. It's a good time to run you through what's going on in the markets. I'm Nigel D'Souza, and with me today is Sonia Shenoy. Hey, Sonia.
Hi, Nigel. It seems like not much is happening on the index, right? It's absolutely flat. But I guess that's not such a bad thing after, what, 8 days of running hard. This is not a bad outcome to hold on to these levels.
Yeah, absolutely. And you had the mid-cap index as well. There are a lot of gainers out there. Some of these hotel stocks are running along. You know, there's a joke in the market whether or not people are just selling whatever they have and going and checking into the hotel market. Just take a look at these stocks. Some of them have given you 20-25% returns in just a couple of days.
And buying bags and then go checking into the market, right? Look at VIP.
Yeah, look at VIP. I mean, 400 rupees on the stock. So we'll keep an eye on a whole host of stocks actually to make some money out there.
Headlines, right? But let's talk about individual stocks now, because plenty of movers in trade today. Top of mind is Vedanta, of course, post that deal, and also a lot of brokerages talking about it. Nigel, take it away.
Well, Vedanta's in focus, Sonia, because in fact, they've got the NCLT approval to acquire nearly around 90% stake in Electrosteels. CLSA, they are believing it as a positive. They have in fact a buy rating with a target price of around 410 rupees per share. They're saying that in fact 1.5 million tons Vedanta is getting in terms of the steel plant, and they're getting it at a valuation of around $550 on a per ton basis. So they like that actually. They're also talking about scaling up this plant from 1.5 million tons to 2.5 million tons. They say that Vedanta will be EPS accretive right away, so keep an eye out on that front. The other stock that we're talking about is Electrosteel Steels. You know, Sonia, we've got the details overnight. So Vedanta is going to be putting in nearly around 1,800 crores for around 90% of that stake. They'll also be taking over some debt. The total enterprise value is little over 5,000 crores. Now, importantly, if in fact 90% they're getting for around 1,800 crores, then the remaining 10% will be valued at around 200 crores. And the existing shareholders, as well as some of those banks, they will in fact take equity in the company. So basically, it's getting pushed into around 200 crores. And that's why that stock is down nearly around 5%. It's not just that stock, Sonia, because the market cap is around 700 crores. Stocks like Monnet, Ispat, Bhushan Steel, both of them are under some pressure because that hope trade now seems to be going away. So that's why both those two stocks are lower in trade. Besides that, we're also looking at Srikalahasti Pipes, because yesterday, the minute this deal was announced, you saw some buying on Srikalahasti Pipes. Why is that? It's an associate company of Eletrosteel Steels. So with this going out of their books, in fact, the overhang goes away. The company, remember, is a good company. Srikalahasti Pipes, they've done an EPS of around 28 rupees. They'll end the year with around 38 rupees in terms of an EPS. So in short, it's trading at around 10 times. In comparison to Tata Metallics, it's trading at around 13 times. So, that discount could go away going ahead. And some part of the street believes that FY19, you could say an EPS of 45-50 rupees as well. Also important point to note is that for Srikalahasti Pipes, the coking coal costs have been going down, and coking coal costs have fallen from around $260 to around $200 per ton. That's what could help their numbers going ahead as well, because there's a high bit of correlation between coking coal costs going up and their margins going down. The very fact that coking coal costs are going down, we'll have to keep an eye on this stock for FY19 in particular.
But I think the more important point you made is about Bhushan Steel, Monnet, Ispat, because of course Electrosteel is done and the stock is hardly, 2 rupees. But as Sandeep Parekh was also telling us earlier, in the future NCLT cases, there's no legal right for the equity shareholders to get anything at all. So that seems to be a bit of a scary situation. But in fact, let's hear it out from them. First, the chairman of Vedanta, Anil Agarwal, and then Sandeep Parekh of the FinSec Law Advisors. Listen into what they had to say.
So I'm very pleased that this thing has happened. I'm very bullish on Indian ferrous and non-ferrous sector. We import almost $200 billion worth of these material from outside. A lot of job being created outside to bring the goods to India. And we have to make sure that we save our foreign exchange and create job. I believe that require a couple of 100 crores to complete the project. Money will not come on the way.
Typically what happens is equity gets wiped out as a matter of legal consequence. There's no legal right in shareholders to kind of get a profit out of a dead company, really. I don't think trading should be stopped, because if you stop trading, what happens is investors will not be able to exit at any price whatsoever.
Okay, all right. Then Zee Entertainment, that's another stock that's doing well in today's trading session. Sonal, who's just completed a year of being with us here at CNBC TV18. Good to have you, Sonal, for the last 1 year. And good to have you on the show as well. Tell us, why is Zee buzzing today?
Thanks a lot for that, Nigel. Well, a lot of learning in this 1 year, of course, but we'll talk about stocks. Zee Entertainment is buzzing in trade today because Kotak came out with a report where they said that Zee Network's viewership in Q4 was up around 230 basis points on a year-on-year YOY basis. Sequentially, though it was quite flattish, but their outlook for the ad revenue growth and the viewership growth for Zee Entertainment is quite strong. They also expect Zee to deliver around 21% ad revenue growth in Q4, and that is 700 basis points above the industry estimates. Sun TV, that is the closest peer to Zee TV, that saw some decline in the market share and viewership in this quarter by around 220 basis points. That was because of the increasing competition that it is facing in the southern states. Now, TV industry ad spends, they're expecting a 13 to 15% growth for these in Q4 and going forward in FY19, and they expect Zee to outperform the industry in 2019. So that is why they are liking this stock. Currently, they have an ad rating on Zee with a target price of around 625. But if we talk about valuation, Zee trades at around 33 times FY19 EPS and Sun trades at around 25 times FY19 EPS. Zee is a costlier stock in comparison to Sun TV, but they like Zee more and they think Zee will be able to do better than Sun TV in times to come. Back to you.
Okay, well, thanks a lot for that and congratulations. It's been a great year. By the way, M&M has launched, it's actually a facelift for their XUV 500 SUV. So that's the 7-seater, the crossover that they have. And it's the new one is at 12.5 lakhs. So if you're looking to expand your family, 7-seater, a bigger car for the new family, right?
Yeah, once we're looking at doing that. So I'll keep an eye out on that one. But good weekend.
Okay, well, yes, that's done exceptionally well for the company. And M&M, of course, as we know, has been hitting new milestones. But Fortis, that one refuses to get out of the news. Seems to be the most suitable bride now. Fourth suitor on board. Nisha is with us. Nisha, just a day ahead of the board meeting, there's one more person who's thrown their hat in the ring.
Oh yes, and it's a Chinese player, Fosun, which after the entire, remember, Gland Pharma saga that happened, and they finally got in as an investor in Gland Pharma. Now they are confident about Fortis as well. So they have put their hat in the ring. They have but given a non-binding offer. So this in comparison with Manipal TPG's binding offer and non-binding offers given by IHH as well as Munjal and Bourbon combination. So there are a whole host of suitors now lining up for Fortis Healthcare. Now, just to take you through what Fosun has really proposed to give is 100 crore rupees to take care of the immediate liquidity requirement of Fortis Healthcare, where we think that they do have certain liabilities to really manage by the end of this particular month. Apart from that, $350 million for less than 25% stake is what they have offered to give. Now, remember, there is a huge amount of similarity between the kind of offer that Fosun has given and what Munjals and Burmans, the last one, have also given. So we'll have to see which way the board really swings. It's going to be a tough task for the board, and then finally the shareholders will have to take that final decision.
Okay, all right, Nisha, you've been on top of that one, so you'll keep giving us updates in terms of Fortis. But Sonal still with us. Sonal, chemical companies, they're in focus.
Well, the companies like GHCL and Tata Chemicals is in focus because there was already an anti-dumping duty on soda ash, and now we understand that this has been extended by 1 year for imports of soda ash from Russia and Turkey. Now, why is it important is because these two markets are very important. Now, Turkey is a major producer of soda ash and has a capacity of about 2.5 million tons, out of which they have been able to dump 2 lakh million tons in the global markets at lower prices. Russia contributes to around 5% of the total soda ash market, so that is not very important, but still together both these companies are able to dump close to 1 lakh tons of soda ash in Indian markets. And going forth, I spoke to some experts and they think that it will increase from 1 lakh tons to 1.5 lakh tons in coming years. Total domestic soda ash market is around 3.7 million tons and total global soda ash markets is around 59 million tons. So now what's really happening is global domestic producers, they are having realizations of around 19,000 rupees per ton on this on the sale of this soda ash, whereas on the dumping price from Turkey is at around $220 per ton, and if we calculate it, it comes to around 14,000 rupees per ton, and from Russia also it's around the same amount, $230 per ton. So they are dumping it at lower prices, and now with this extension, they'll not be able to do it if we add anti-dumping duty and all, and that provides a lot of relief to these two companies, because remember, Tata Chemicals is second largest producer of soda ash in the world, and in India, GHCL is one of the bigger producers, so these two stocks could be in focus.
Okay, Sonal, thanks a lot for that. By the way, that's the update as far as the Diamond Power case is concerned. I think it was just a matter of time before those arrests came through. CBI has arrested promoters and directors of Diamond Power. This is to do with that fraud case of almost 2,600 crores. Utkarsh is here to give us the latest on that. Utkarsh, over to you.
So as you said, this was just a matter of time before the arrest takes place, because the CBI had registered a case almost 15 days back, questioning what was ongoing of all the promoters and searches and raids happening. In fact, what's more important in this case is that the loan by the consortium was given after RBI really went ahead and alarmed the company in the caution list. So this is something which was really interesting in this case. This is a case of somewhere around 2,654 crore rupees of alleged fraud. What also is being spoken about is falsification of amount, accounts, creation of false documents, forgery of records. So a whole lot of illegal activities which took place in this case. And tomorrow these guys will be produced in the Vadodara court, is what we are picking up from our sources. But finally, an arrest coming in the Diamond Power infra case.
Okay, all right, Utkarsh, thanks so much for that. Well, hotel stocks, they have been on a roll this week. In fact, pan-India occupancies have crossed the 60% barrier. They have provided evidence of a revival in the cyclical hotel industry. We spoke to the CFO of Royal Orchid, who believes that they will be able to cross 80% occupancy levels this year. Let's listen in.
We are going to cross 80%. In fact, we are already sitting at 78% occupancy across all the hotels which have been listed, and the results for which we are give in the market. And this year we will definitely cross 80% mark. This year, definitely FY19, we will be seeing a growth in the average revenue also. What happens? Average revenue will grow only when even your competition is doing well. Since competition also is crossing 70% mark, so I think our average revenue will grow in this current financial year. 8 to 10% it will grow. FY20 we are targeting a 50 crore crossing consolidated EBITDA mark.
Okay, that's the word coming in from some of those hotel companies. By the way, that's the swanky new Mahindra XUV 500. Remember, it's a refreshed version of the old Mahindra XUV, which had done exceptionally well for the company. And there, as you can see, it's very interesting. I mean, it's a snazzy new look, new tail lamps. The whole body, the whole chassis has been changed for this particular model. And in fact, Mahindra they had spoken to us a while back, and they indicated that they're going to refresh all of their products. And they're going to launch 3 new products as well. So they're going big bang to sort of change their image, make it a bit more younger, friendlier to the new gen, etc. And that looks pretty cool there. Yeah,
that looks quite good. 12.3 lakhs. Start saving now if you want to have that vehicle. It's a 7-seater, as Sonia said. So we'll keep an eye out on that one, Sonia. Yeah.
And interestingly, they're facing a lot of competition from not just the Creta, which has done exceptionally well, but the Jeep. The new Jeep is picking up a lot. So the Jeep Compass. So stiff competition, but I guess they're sort of upping their game over.
But on the pricing front, I mean, will they be a little cheaper than the Jeep?
Yeah, they will be cheaper. I don't know the exact amount, but yes, 12.5 lakhs actually for a 7-seater crossover SUV is really not bad.
Okay, all right. So we'll keep an eye out on that one. Those are the visuals that are getting from that launch as well. But a quick recap then of all the buzzing stocks that we just covered. We have Vedanta, Electrosteels, we have Zee Entertainment, Fortis, JHCL, Telecom, as well as Royal Orchid.
Quick update on the market. Not much has been happening actually, just that the market has held on to these gains. And if you look at what's been happening since the start of trade, we've picked up a bit to the high point. So not bad. This is still a buy on dips market. You're still making money if you buy every dip. And that's a trend for the last many days. But let's get you some market opinion. We spoke to Andrew Holland, the CEO of Avendus Capital Alternate Strategies. He expects some volatility in the market as we head into the elections. Listen in.
Understanding that we've got elections next month, which will obviously make the markets volatile. But the 2-year Treasury in the US and the 10-year Treasury in the US, that differential is only 50 basis points, and whenever you see an inverted yield, usually means that we're heading for difficult times. RBI kind of Goldilocks scenario for the Indian economy of strong growth, no inflation, just doesn't wear well with me. And I think the risk to their kind of targets and inflation is on the high side, rather than I expect them to be to get to those kind of figures. We like private banks, we like selective NBFCs because they will continue to take market share from the PSU banks. There's no doubt in my mind that will happen. So, you know, we will continue with that kind of strategy. The only thing that's probably, you know, kind of less kind of negative PSU banks is obviously we've seen this Electrosteel, you know, kind of move towards Vedanta, which, you know, will probably give some optimism that the banking sector is getting through the problems and, you know, and so forth and so on. I still think we're a quarter or so away, but, you know, sentiment-wise, it's probably will keep the sector reasonably buoyant. But that said, there's still a lot of problems out there. We think the worst is over, and, you know, if you kind of take an emphasis where the dividend yield, if you take into account all that they're doing, is around 6%. So that gives you a lot of cushion for the share price, and obviously we will have to wait and see what his, you know, the new CEO is going to tell the analysts next week in terms of his strategy. But you know, I think the rupee as well will depreciate. I'm not comfortable with the fiscal deficit. I'm not comfortable with inflation in India, and therefore I think the rupee will head towards that kind of 67 level, you know, very quickly, and that would probably be very favourable for IT as well. You know, I think earnings growth this year will be around 15%, and I think markets should move up in line with those kind of increases in earnings. So we're more optimistic on the earnings growth for this year and GDP of 7.5%, but certainly not the Goldilocks scenario which the RBI gave us.
All right, then let's get straight to a CNBC TV18 exclusive. Consolidation in the telecom tower space is picking up. Sources suggest that the long pending deal between Bharti Infratel and Indus Towers, that's close to finalization. Nisha Podar joins us with all those final contours of that deal. Nisha, over to you.
Thanks for that, Nigel. Of course, sources with direct knowledge have shared with us that the merger talks between Indus Towers and Bharti Infratel have reached the final contours and reached a finalization. We are gathering from sources with direct knowledge that they are just putting the final touches to this particular transaction, which could be announced very, very soon. So the final picture of this mammoth tower business, the merged entity between Bharti Infratel and Indus Towers, would be a little over $16 billion in terms of valuations, is what we gather from sources with direct knowledge. Also to remember, the final contours will be such that Idea Cellular, which owns 11% stake in Indus Tower, and Providence, the private equity firm with around 5% stake, would make an exit. Remember, Idea Cellular, which really requires cash at this point, will be gaining over $1 billion from this particular exit. Apart from that, a very important point to note here is that Vodafone as well as Bharti would remain as the joint promoters of Bharti Infratel and Indus Tower merged entity. So that's a significant bit that is going to happen. Remember, the earlier transaction of KKR putting in money and then buying out these shareholders of Indus has been scrapped. So KKR, by way of its over 10% stake in Bharti Infratel, will land up owning a minority stake of about 6% in this large merged entity. We also gather that Bharti and Vodafone will have a lock-in as part of the promoter shareholding. So Bharti Airtel will not be able to monetize this particular asset, the tower business, very quickly as part of the overall merged, merger deal. So this is the large transaction which is in the making, in the final stages. And I reached out to all the three participants, and they all declined to comment on this development.
All right, thanks a lot for that. Well, Bharti Infratel is definitely picking up now on the back of that news flow. So just take a look at that stock. It's moved to the high point of trade, Bharti Infratel there. But by the way, the space to be in really today is consumption once again. Look at the intraday chart of ITC, for example. FMCG consumption is doing really well. ITC was a stock that Purinju had mentioned yesterday, and ever since he did that, he said, you know, consumption space is the one to be in. Look at the way the stock has been soaring. Godrej Consumers, by the way, is keeping it company as well. This morning, this afternoon, Godrej Consumers having a